If you're like many college students, you've probably heard about plagiarism in some of your other classes, or maybe even before coming to William Patterson. Things like, plagiarism is bad, or plagiarism is stealing. And while there are certainly those out there who will intentionally try to pass off someone else's work as their own, with a little attention to detail and by following some simple rules, plagiarism is easy to avoid. Let's start by defining plagiarism. According to Merriam-Webster, to plagiarize is to steal and pass off the ideas or words of another as one's own, or to use another's production without crediting the source. In other words, taking credit for the work of another person. This includes not only writing, but ideas and other creations like images, videos, and music. The university offers a clearer definition of plagiarism with the following description from the undergraduate catalog. Plagiarism is the copying of information without giving proper credit. It can also be passing off someone else's ideas or creations as your own, whether intentionally or not. And it could also be reusing an assignment from another class without prior permission. Doing any of these things is a violation of academic integrity at William Patterson University and could result in disciplinary action, so it's important to be careful. The easiest and most common way to avoid plagiarism is to always cite or reference your sources whenever you use someone else's words, ideas, or creations. This means including a brief citation or note for readers to easily find the original source, thereby giving credit to the creator of that information. Ultimately, how you cite depends on the citation style you're asked to use and can vary greatly from style to style, so always review the rules before starting your writing. So, if all you have to do is cite things, what's the big deal? Well, it's making sure that you're citing the right things and doing it correctly. Failing to cite properly, even if by accident, may still be considered plagiarism, so be careful. There are only a handful of times when you'll need to include a citation. When quoting someone directly, when putting someone else's ideas into your own words, or when using images, diagrams, video, etc. that were created by someone else. Quoting is when you use someone else's exact words in your writing. Whenever you do, the text must be surrounded by quotation marks so that readers know it's not your own thought. You also need to include a citation directing readers to the full reference. Paraphrasing is putting someone else's thoughts or ideas into your own words and can show a greater understanding of the content that you've read. It isn't simply changing a few words to make it a little different, though. It's processing the ideas and incorporating them into your writing in a thoughtful way. For example, by changing only a few words, this sentence is essentially the same as the original and could be considered plagiarism. Instead, we could rethink the idea, adding our own content and expanding on its meaning. Paraphrasing must also be cited, though, because, as with quotes, the ideas are not your own and credit must be given to someone else. Using materials that are not in a written format is becoming more common as students are asked to create more presentations and it becomes easier to find interesting images, sound loops, and videos online. Just because something is online, though, doesn't mean that it's free to use. Some materials are freely available, others must be paid for, and some have special conditions for their use that may include providing a citation. Always read the terms and conditions of use to be sure that you properly credit the creator. When in doubt, provide a citation. We've covered some examples of when you do have to cite your sources, but there's an exception. You are not required to provide a citation for something that is considered common knowledge. Common knowledge usually consists of commonly agreed upon facts that are, well, commonly known. For example, Independence Day in the United States falls on July 4th. Or William Patterson was the second governor of New Jersey. If you're not sure if something is common knowledge, play it safe and cite it anyway. Here are some last pieces of advice for avoiding plagiarism. The first and easiest way to avoid plagiarism is to be organized. Come up with a plan for starting and finishing your research on time. It's easy to make mistakes with your citations when you're running out of time. Next, be careful when you cut and paste while putting your notes together. It's easy to forget where that quote or thought came from, so take a little extra time and make a note of the source so you can properly cite it later. Finally, save or email copies of articles to yourself whenever possible. Many of our databases offer this feature, and if you don't remember where an article came from or how to cite it, you shouldn't use it in your research. If you still have questions about plagiarism or how to cite your sources, we're here to help. Also, check out our website for citation guides, tutorials, and other helpful resources.